I'd like you to join me live on the internet. Absolutely doing your acting and doing emotional preparation. Now, one of the things that the casting directors always make comments on in the back rooms is whether or not a person can do a piece of material with one emotional preparation and then switch their emotional preparation and do the same piece of material. And we can practice doing that on our live feeds together. So join me, find the information on the website Emotional Preparation, and then you can join me and we can broadcast you live on the internet, and it will be fantastic. Okay, hey, welcome, and thanks for coming to the live feed. We are just getting a lot of things set up. There's a lot of things that I'm working on. There's a lot of things. It's a lot of work, and I tell you, it's a joy. It's fun. You know, there's been over 30,000 acting exercises that I have actually seen in person, including people that are famous to people that are not famous. And I never cared if people were famous or not. What I've only ever cared about was studying the process of acting techniques. I wanted to see what type of techniques the different actors were doing. And then sometimes, you know, a lot of times, sometimes I wouldn't know whether, what shows they're on. Sometimes I would. A lot of times people would tell me stuff, and a lot of times I didn't want to know. And it would just depend. You know, some stuff I wanted to be able to see. Some stuff I wanted to confirm with, a couple snippets of videos here and there, and I could tell with their techniques and how much of that's actually translating into their actual film work, and how much of that actual technique is actually getting developed over time. And it's fascinating. This is something that, I literally have been, when I say lucky, I'm not saying that I've lucked out. I'm just saying I've put in a ton of hard work to focus on the ability for being able to notice and see talent and train talent and be able to have that construct of what is talent, actually learning the techniques that get that talent activated and actually out into the acting work. And this is the biggest focus of my training. And it's been exciting, and it still is exciting. So when I'm saying that I'm busy, I am working on many different things to be able to express all the different stuff that I know already. Some of the stuff I remember, there'd be sometimes it would be famous people, sometimes it wouldn't be. And they would come over and they'd ask some questions here and there. And they'd say, why don't you write a book? Where's your book? Where's this thing happening? Where's that happening? Why don't you have a different opinion than all the other teachers that are teaching? Why are you not expressing this? I say, well, look, I really respect the other teachers. I want them to be able to, of course, do well, but I know I do have some contrary opinions. I've got some extra stuff that I work on. I've got some extra techniques that I do. And they understood that. And it was interesting because then they would use some of the stuff that I discussed and work on projects here and there. And I'll tell you, the stuff that I work on, it definitely works. And when I sit and absolutely, it takes a little bit of courage on my behalf. But when I sit down and really hone into the actual nuts and bolts of the secret techniques for acting that I use, and I've seen sometimes it's normal techniques that I've seen other people using, and other times it's stuff that I've given people instructions on, and they've gone into classes and worked on it. Sometimes it's from my teaching when I'm teaching, and then as people will do stuff. So it's all across the board, and it's fascinating. The absolute important thing is to be able to remember to activate your emotion in emotional preparation. So today, I've got a comment here to look at and read, and maybe we'll do that right now, but and then we'll go to this other thing. Okay, so the comment that I have, first of all, I appreciate all of your comments, suggestions, questions. I appreciate the questions. I think it's fascinating because, look, I am seeing this entire situation from a global point of view. I get traffic on the website. I'm able to look and kind of understand like what are people studying, what people aren't studying in different regions. There isn't a day, I don't think there's probably not many days on the website where there's not at least 10 different countries. And that's pretty good. And sometimes there's a lot more. So, that's pretty exciting, where it tells me what people are interested in, what people are focused on, and where they are in this journey. Because I always take acting and I say, listen, acting is a personal journey. If you want to be able to test your faith in anything, you want to be able to learn how to do acting. Believe me, you literally are learning techniques that you have this faith in yourself, this actor's faith. And this actor's faith is this ingredient that you build up of trust in yourself with that capability of being able to get what's stimulated inside of yourself, what you're capable of stimulating emotionally, actually into the actual imaginary world. So, these are excellent things to be able to consider when you're on your journey of acting. I always say that this is a personal journey. Every single person doing acting, you're on your own personal journey. Okay, so we have a comment here, and it's a good one. It's a very nice comment. Okay, so the comment says, wow, I appreciate your passion and commitment on this topic. Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, the comment continues and says, I know exactly what you're describing about emotional activation, because the few times that I was able to do that, which is emotional activation, right? The few times I was able to do that when I soared in my acting. So the few times that they were able to do emotional activation, they were able to soar in their acting. Now, what do I call that? I call that, taking an imaginary journey or an imaginary flight, or, it's an emotional flight. The emotions are real in an imaginary world. But yeah, it's a catapult. You catapult, you learn how to be able to catapult, and hopefully you learn that this incredible tool to be able to use this whole construct of interaction in your acting. And the interaction is what carries you outside, and you're all of a sudden working on this incredible imagination and an imaginary world that you're living in, but yet you've got real emotional stimulus. So you know that you're in an imaginary world, but at the same time, everything is coming off of you as if it's completely real. And this is exactly the way to absolutely supersede in this industry. Absolutely supersede, even past all the corruption of everything. And some of it's corruption, some of it's not. But some of it's just fickleness within the industry. And you can supersede that and get this talent. So the comment continues. It says, but I have not learned to activate on purpose. Interesting. Like it's always been some kind of unknown confluence of ingredients that I can't replicate. Now, what this person is describing is an old thing in acting, and it's called acting. Now they're not describing anything that's envious, but there has been some stories of actors that have been able to consistently activate themselves, especially on Broadway, sometimes in films. And there's a lot of times there's a few different responses. Sometimes the cast can be envious of the person because they don't know how to be able to find that same technique for themselves. Other times they can just be in awe of the person. But this is phenomenal that this person has been so nice and absolutely thank you so much for this comment, because it should help other people understand that this is actually something that you can design by acting technique to be able to get this in this whole thing, to be able to get this consistency of activating emotions. So let's read this one more time. It says, this is not just some of the comment here. Hold on. It's been like some unknown confluence of ingredients that I can't replicate. Now, this is extremely important, right? Now, the comment continues. So it's like you in your quest to put emotions in acting. My quest is to know exactly what to do in order to activate my emotion. Now, this is what I'm all about. I am absolutely thrilled by this comment. I think this is great. That is exactly an absolute important thing to be able to find for your acting. Okay, there's a little bit more of the comment. The comment says, I'll be checking out your videos to see if you can explain how to activate an emotion. Thank you. That's what the comment says. Well, I want to say thank you. It's first of all, congratulations for being open. Congratulations for absolutely understanding that there is a need to understand in a vulnerable way that doesn't put anybody in a displacement, but in a vulnerable way to realize that there's improvement that you can do within your work. Now, I have seen people in all kinds of situations in acting, all types of emotional situations, etc., and all types of different things. And the reality to this is the brave actors who really want personal development, personal growth, actually want to be able to develop themselves with the technique that will catapult them. They'll literally go through a thing called running the gamut. They'll call it running the gamut. And you'll feel all of a sudden you'll have one emotion, you're in an interaction experience in acting, and all of a sudden that emotion will switch, you'll go to another emotion, but yet it's all within this emotional context of the scene. And you can activate and learn how to activate yourself so that you can actually achieve this. So I have a thing for you to consider. I think that this is important. Do be aware that the reality of being able to be this sharp with the technique means that you're going to either, one, have to show other people how to do that technique, which is fine. You can point them towards my videos, and I'll be more than happy to spend time with them when I'm available to do live feeds. And when I'm doing live feeds, and depending on how many people are here, it's all that, but I will be more than happy to absolutely explain this on videos, etc. And I'm going through all kinds of amazing work. And I'm literally showing people how to be able to access themselves. I am working to be able to give people their own keys to their internal emotions. That's what my plight is. I want to do this because, listen, I have no idea. I might go and start acting on one project or another project, and all of a sudden, I'll be acting with somebody that's been on my website, gone to this stuff, or read my work, and they'll be like, wow, yeah, we can work that way. We can definitely work with our emotions. And then all of a sudden, we'll have this thing happen. I don't know, maybe we'll both become famous from it. I don't know. You never know the future. Now, and I don't care about fame. I don't chase it. I don't care at all about anything with fame. Believe me, it's not something that I desire, but what I'm saying that is something that sometimes people will want, and maybe that would be something that they could do. And of course, I would be more than happy for the other person, to get the attention. And that's how I've always mostly operated. And it's been an absolute joy to be able to understand this work of acting as well as I do. And this is why I say this. It has been, it's somewhere between 35 and 70 different teachers. I think it's over 70, But I don't know. I mean, I have to sit and do a lot of work just to figure that out. And there's been a lot of activities that I've been able to go and be able to participate in certain ways. So if this is an absolutely fantastic comment, and be aware that you're going to probably have to show other people, or you're going to end up having people become a little jealous of you because you have that technique, and sometimes, you can be so quiet with your technique that people won't even know you're doing it. And then it will be like, a month or two later in the series, when the series starts going out on syndication or whatever, or not syndication, but on the cycles, and you'll all of a sudden have some of the cast realize that you're actually doing really good work. And then it'll be like that 2 to 3 months later when they start to realize, oh, you really know what you're doing. And at that point, the writers are already writing in extra scenes for you. Why? Because you're able to do something that other people can't. And that is be able to put emotions into your acting. And this means something that's spectacular. And when you're able to do things that are spectacular with your technique, that will absolutely show within your acting. So if you have a comment, just go ahead and leave it. If it's now or later, that's fine. I'll get to it eventually. But the thing is that it's very, very, very important to be able to keep yourself intrigued, keep yourself motivated, and that's another reason why I'm dedicated to making these videos. There's a lot of content that I'm making, and it's important because it's not about it's not about me. It's about making sure that every single thing that I know isn't going to go to complete waste, because some of the stuff I know and some of the techniques I know are very, 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 very customized that I've done myself. And some of the stuff is tried and true. And some of it I've done tests on, which include some of my kind of tricky emotional preparation techniques that I've done myself to test and work with and be able to explain. Sometimes there would be, I guess I can say that sometimes I'd work with people and I'd get there, tell them what I know that they needed to know because they'd ask me, and I'd be, okay, fine. And sometimes over the years, I would try to do everything I could to avoid attention. I would just be studying. And people ask me something, I would tell them exactly what they needed to know. And then sometimes they'd look at me with this look like, I don't see that. I remember this one time somebody said, I don't see that. I don't see that, Simon. I don't see that. I said, no problem. No problem. Maybe I'm wrong. That's fine. No, go ahead. And then they came back to me. It was about 2.5 weeks later. And they came back to me and they came up and they've got this look on their face. Like, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? And they said, well, I just want to tell you, you're actually right about this thing. I didn't see it there at first, but now that I see that perspective, now they were able to make that adjustment. So here's why I'm saying this. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the principle of being able to see a different point of view or a different angle in your own acting. And this is why I'm adamant. I think that this is a fantastic approach to be able to use that emotions list that I have on my website. And there should be a link to it somewhere. And look at the description box for this stuff. But the thing is understanding, if you work with that list of emotions right, in a way that works to be able to start mining or finding, you're working to be able to find your talent, right? You got to look inside yourself to find your talent. You've got to be able to be in this situation where you've got some kind of, rudimentary tools to be able to work with, to find that talent, find your own emotion inside of yourself. So use that list. Use that list of emotions. I think there's one, anyway, there's a couple different versions of it. So find it is, and feel free to go to the store if you feel like it, and that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. But just get the emotions and work with those emotions. And this is what you do. You go down that list and you start writing out. You got emotion of regret, and you write down 2 or 3 things that you are your biggest at current time, biggest brainstorms for regret. What is something that you regret? Is there something that you can say in your life that you regret? Is there something that you can say that you have been able to regret, right? Then you can draw a line underneath that, and then you can write the word imaginary. And then you can say, well, what are 3 different imaginary situations that you could write down that are actually, things that you could imagine that would cause you to have regret? Now, you can do this with like 10, 12, 25 different emotions. Spend some time, spend a couple weeks going through that list, brainstorming this for yourself. See, we're finding our own talent. We're dealing with this to be able to find our own talent. And we're able to do this working with this construct, making sure that we're working with these components. These are vital. This is stuff to be able to then find, because we're finding ingredients for our own talent. We're finding ingredients of what will actually be able to be used later on, to be able to be used for our talent, for our acting. And nothing could be more important to an actor than finding stuff that actually is able to be an ingredient. Now, what makes an ingredient work? This is a great question, and it's true in baking as well. What makes an ingredient work is activation. Activation makes an ingredient work for baking, and activation makes an ingredient work for acting. So then you go through your list of answers and you start to find stuff that really do, maybe every single one of them. You can find an activation for, an emotional activation. Maybe only 2 or 3 of them, maybe 10 of them end up being activations that you can actually get, and you work with your activation, you find your activation, and you're able to do that. Well, this is absolutely vital, because you could spend all kinds of work on emotional preparation and you could forget to do emotional activation. And I've seen this time and time and time again over the years. And it's very, very interesting to me how this happens. Now, this is another thing. And people are, I know, looking. They've been looking for years for my book. I'm not joking. There's some people that have asked me a lot of times. And now there is this thing that I'm doing that I'm almost done. And I'm going to tell you right now a secret. And this secret is stuff that I'm just starting to be able to get stuff materials out and make sure that it's in there correctly. And this is a thing that is called emotional meditation technique. This is a thing that I'm creating called emotional meditation technique. Now, emotional meditation technique is the ability for you to isolate an emotion, call that emotion within yourself, feel that emotion by all the different activation meditations. You want to go into yourself for like 20, 30 minutes. You go into an emotional meditation, right? An emotional meditation technique. You find an emotion within yourself. Decide what ballpark of emotion it needs to be. And that's key, right? You find the specific area or the specific emotion you're looking for, right? And then get the ability to be able to do some emotional meditation technique on it, which means that you're going to start activating that emotion. Now, every single time you get some kind of activation in it, you want to relax. Relax right into that stimulus. Relax right into the stimulus. And what you will find, if you're working with, we'll just stay with regret for now. If we're working with regret, you will find that you'll have a feeling of regret this big, just little bit in your work when you're first starting out. By the end of that meditation, or the middle of the meditation, you'll be in a situation where you have like more and more things that you're starting to remember that you regret. You'll have things that you maybe have imaginary things that all of a sudden you could add, and all of a sudden it adds to this component inside of yourself, and you're doing this emotional meditation technique, and you've got this regret that's just it wants to burst. It's like a balloon inside of you. Then you go through the acceptance of that, right? Now you're not activating that emotion. Every single time you feel an impulse, a technique of something spur up inside of you, something go through, you just relax right in it. Breathe right into it and let it become something inside of you. Let it become something. Let it be there. Now, all of a sudden, we're working with emotions, right? We're not working with fleeting feelings, although there could be a lot of feelings around. We're dealing with deep feelings, and we're letting that manifest itself inside of you. You've got this component. You've got this thing building up. All of a sudden, you start feeling more and more regret. Or it could be sadness. Or it could be devastation. Or it could be a happy emotion. Maybe you're trying to do something you feel glad and you're getting giddier and giddier. It could happen. You can work with it this way. And then you work with this technique, and then you've got to be able to release all of that stuff back out of you. Now, what's going to happen is this, and this is a reason why this is such a good exercise. You're going to find that this whole construct is that you might have only started with a small piece of regret, and you might find that you're able to kind of activate the regret and you relax into it, which kind of makes it worse, but it's there, and you're making adjustments internally, right? This is how it works. This thing's kind of like this thing that jostles around inside of you. All of a sudden, you feel like you got like a lump in your throat, and you're not sure why, and you're like working with this thing, and you've got all of a sudden you're feeling worried. You're doing a meditation, right? You're doing emotional meditation technique, and you're building up this worry, and you've got this thing, and you're working on this technique. And then when you can't take anymore, then you want to start being, okay, well, look, now let's really just let go of it. Let's get rid of it. Let's start to realize, bring yourself back, bring yourself in, start letting go of that emotion, layer by layer by layer by layer. Let go of that emotion, layer by layer. And what you do is you just keep letting it go until you feel like you've let go of as much of it as you possibly could. Now, an interesting thing is going to happen. And this is the actual journey of being an artist and an actor. And that is that you're going to feel, most likely, there's going to be some kind of residual to that feeling that's inside of you. And you're not going to be able to get rid of that residual, that exact emotional meditation technique session. So what you're going to have to do is, you've done as much as you could, you've released it, right? And then you maybe come back to it and try and release it more. And then if you need to, come back a third time, release it more. See if you can get rid of it completely. Get rid of that emotional ball that's inside of you, right? The emotional, balloon. And this is a real absolute technique. Now, this is not emotional preparation. It's very, very, very important that is not emotional preparation. Emotional preparation involves, emotional preparation has to include activation. In this situation, we're not activating anything, right? We're just simply being in a situation where we're like working to see if we can do the exercises of emotion, right? So we're working to see if we can take on an emotional weight, call in an emotional weight, have an emotional weight, and then release an emotional weight, put everything back and totally release it as much as we can, even though we know there's going to be residual, and then come back, release more, come back, release more, however many times you need to do that, right? Sometimes it might be 5 or 6. And then we can work with another emotion. We can work with another emotion, spend another 30 minutes working with another emotion. And we can, the biggest thing is take breaks, right? We work on it diligently. We're working, get this thing activated. We're working to be able to work, and then we let it go. Now, this goes in later on to the overall process that I teach, which involves releasing emotion. Releasing emotion so you are not going to go into a neurotic state in your acting where there's all this remnant of stuff and you're not sure, what to write to get it out of you, or you're not sure what to do to get it out of you. This is the ability to debrief the entire thing. So you've got this emotion activated, you've got residue of emotion, right? Well, this emotional meditation technique is something that is vital, because you work with this technique now within your ability. And this is, by the way, a chapter that will be in that book when it comes out. It will be out soon, very soon. It will be this thing where you will absolutely realize that by doing this emotional meditation technique, that you are actually in a situation that you're practicing on a micro scale just by yourself, right? Something that later on in acting you do when you do full, absolute release techniques. Now, full release techniques means that you've got to release your emotional preparation, all of your emotional activations, then anything that built up from that past, life, real life baggage that wants to attach to that, stuff that will kind of remind you of one thing, or an imaginary story that was, like it could be some thing that you read in the paper or read on the internet, and all of a sudden you've got this situation where you've got this like storyline that you remember, and it kind of haunts you a little bit. That could work, Brett. That could be an element. There could be an element where you have this whole construct of what happened in your imaginary world to be able to now debrief. So you basically got your imaginary preparation, your emotional preparation, and your imaginary circumstance. And you've got to debrief both with anything that attaches to it. Right? Anything that's attached to it. And you release all those activations after you work. Well, that's what I'm calling the releasing, actors releasing situation. It's actors releasing after acting. And this is vital because you don't want to carry that stuff around in life. And this is key to being able to go deeper and deeper and deeper into all these different areas. And all of a sudden, you're able to, next time you go into a similar emotion, all of a sudden, you've got this incredible, incredible ability. And you've got this relaxation that you didn't have before. And after about 5 or 6 times of working with these types of techniques, all of a sudden, you're in your work and you've got your ability, you're doing your work, boom. And then all of a sudden, you come out and you release. And then you just feel like completely, like absolutely like $1 million, like totally cool. Like, okay, I just did acting. I've done my acting. I don't have any like emotional like leftovers from my acting. And I don't have any emotional leftovers from my emotional preparation. And I didn't have any like clingers of like emotional clingers that came and attached to anything, which is normal for every single human, right? And the thing is that then you're dealing with a blank slate. Now you can just go live your life. It's just that simple. That's what we're aiming to be able to do. And this is why it's important, because we want to be able to get to this construct where we're able to be able to deal with this, right? We want to be able to absolutely really highlight our talent, be able to work with our talent, be able to work with everything from fear to gladness to our inner strength to whatever you want to work with, any emotion. I think there's over 1,000 on that list. But the thing is that there's a ton of emotions, and you can work off of that list to be able to build and construct these constructions so that you've got this ability to be able to really click yourself on, get that thing activated, and then go through the process of letting that go out in layers of release. So listen, I'm having a ball doing these things. I'm happy with this whole thing. And let's just take a short break. I'll come right back. Hi, I'm inviting you to actually join me live on the internet. And if you would, you can bring your own emotional preparation. We can work on emotional preparation together, and we can really hone down and help build out that talent within inside of you. Now, even if all it is you want to just bring an emotional preparation, do a spoon river, I don't mind. Come, join us, and absolutely practice the talent of your own acting. I really am into acting, and I know you are too. And the most important thing in acting is emotion. You've got to be willing and capable, and you got to know some of these tricks. These tricks of being able to activate your emotion. You activate your emotion in the being side of the work, and then you catapult yourself and dive into the doing side of the work, the interaction. And this element called emotional preparation is key. Hi, my acting training is incredibly extensive. These are some of my notes. This is not all of them. It's by far, it's not all. And I really like acting. I really like the hardest component of acting is the emotion. And so that's why I run and operate emotional preparation. And there's information on that website that you can join me on my live feed, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesdays and Fridays. I hope to see you there. If you find the information on my website, you can actually join the live feed. I can send you a link and you can actually come on and talk to me face to face. And you can actually, we'll do emotional preparations together. So we can actually work to be able to access your emotions and help you be able to put emotions into your acting work. Okay, so this is exciting. There's all sorts of things going on. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of stuff to be able to really study, and the things to be able to study. So, you know, I'm thrilled by being able to do these live broadcasts. I'm not at all like, you know, we're gonna figure out how to be able to facilitate this in a way that actually is able to work. So more people can come on, things can hear it, people can hear it both ways, either live or also in the replays. So, you know, help me by obviously sharing this with your friends and use this material to be able to develop yourself as an actor. This is the point. Now, when we're looking at being able to join the live feed, we are looking at the ability to literally, there is this program that I use called Restream. And Restream is this situation where you basically sign up. There's different tiers, but mostly you can do it for free, or you can sign up on one of the paid platforms, and you can literally work with this so that you can then come in the back office of the live stream. And what this program does is it allows you to do an entire live stream with me, and you are then capable of actually using your web browser as a browser with your camera, either your camera on your computer or a camera that you've somehow attached in your studio. And you can then be able to actually come into the stream, and you'll go into the back office with a link that I have under, I think it's called live feed, under contact, under the emotional preparation site. And all you do is you sign up for an account, and then you can go and I need to set some things up still. But then you can absolutely be able to join me, and you will show up in my back office. And I will then be able to pull you onto the call. We can discuss your actual acting techniques, how you access your emotions, what do you do, how do you get prepared yourself for acting. Now, this is why it's important. This helps you to be able to express it. And it helps everybody to be able to continue this incredible opportunity that we're all getting to have. And we are getting to have this opportunity by being creators and being able to work in acting, both in classes and you can invite your friends to look at the video. You can bring a Spoon River in. You can bring in some material, and I can do some simple coaching to be able to help you to be able to get more emotion. You can simply just show me what it is that you want to show me. That would be fine. And I can make a couple comments. I am not at all interested in judging your work at all in a way that would be non-constructive. The only thing that I will do is I will gently tell you exactly how you might be able to just change or add something that's from inside of yourself that you could then add even to make your work even greater. I've been doing this a heck of a long time. I have been doing this over 20 years, and it has been an absolute joy. But the thing is I have to put myself out there instead of just being shy. I need to be able to be out there and say, look, this is what I'm all about. This is what I'm doing, and this is what I want to help people do, because it's very, 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 very important that we're able to start building out our creative, communities, because we've got this incredible opportunity right now in life with all of this stuff that's going on with creating internet channels and everything else, to be able to co-create how we want to be able to do our art and do our acting. So look, I'm having fun time doing this. We're going to cut this a little bit short today. My voice is going just a touch. And really consider how can you bring something to showcase yourself? How can you bring a Spoon River? Even if you haven't done Spoon Rivers yet, I don't mind. Bring a simple one. I won't tell anybody. And the thing is that you'll be able to then practice, and maybe we'll get a couple lines or 2 or 3 lines of Spoon River, and you can work with an emotional preparation and get that emotional preparation. As long as it's copyright-free material, I'm good to go. If you want to bring a Shakespearean speech, I don't mind. Bring a Shakespearean speech. We'll work on what the casting offices always talk about, which is whether or not an actor can do a contrasting emotion in their audition. And what that means is you come in with your audition, you're able to go into your emotion, you bring in an emotion one way, and you do the entire speech that way, or you do the entire scene with that emotion. And then the director says, well, listen, I'd like to see you go and do an opposite emotion. Can you do that with the same material? Well, we can do that here. We can do that here. So you'll have that extra practice for your acting, which is fantastic. And this is fun. I remember many times there'd be times with Spoon Rivers, we'd do this work in classes. And I remember so much about all kinds of different things, about how to be able to access this, get this thing going. activate it. And that's why all of this work is so important. I want to really be able to help you to be able to gain that for yourself. So when you have an audition, you're capable of doing that thing that few people can do. A lot of people come in and they only have one way of saying the lines in auditions. And they don't even have the ability to know the skills or the techniques to be able to activate an emotion inside themselves and then have that emotion pouring out with the text. They don't even know that. Some people don't. And this is why this is very important for you to share, because the more you're able to be around this whole construct, the more talent is going to come out of you in your acting. Okay, so listen, I couldn't be happier about all of this. And thanks very much for all the kind comments. And what great comments we've had today. And really, I absolutely appreciate it. Okay, so until next time, thanks very much. I'd like you to join me live on the internet. Absolutely, doing your acting and doing emotional preparation. Now, one of the things that the casting directors always make comments on in the back rooms is whether or not a person can do a piece of material with one emotional preparation and then switch their emotional preparation and do the same piece of material. And we can practice doing that on our live feeds together. So join me. Find the information on the website Emotional Preparation, and then you can join me and we can broadcast you live on the internet, and it will be fantastic.